Hello, Hamish here from mortgagesonline.co.nz. I've got Ed with me today, the Economist, and we're looking at the latest stimulus package. Ed's going to share his thoughts. Ed, where are you today?
Hamish, I'm down here in Christchurch, and hey, we've just been looking at this government stimulus package, which was only released about an hour and a half ago. We've been scouring through, looking at what it really means for people, and is it going to help any much? The first thing I'd like to say is yes, it definitely will. Let's just compare the size for a moment. Let's compare it to Australia. Australia's recent stimulus package that came out was 17.6 billion Australian dollars. That works out to be about $722 per person. Our one is 3.5 times the size of Australia's. Our one is $12.1 billion New Zealand, but that works out to $2,524. So massive, massive. It's much larger, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, than Australia's stimulus package. So that gives you a sense of the size. The other thing I want to talk about as well is the benefit that the wage subsidy is going to bring. So we're seeing a maximum of $7,026 per full-time employee over the next 12 weeks that can potentially be paid into small and medium-sized businesses. Remember that sector is 97% of all businesses and employs something about 50% of all employees. So getting money in and cash into those businesses, which are good businesses, they're just going through a rough time. We want to keep these people employed, and
And
boy, that is really
I
going to help.
think
There's
I
going to be
think
some business owners really feeling the relief.
the interest rate drop, the OCR, just very short while ago, probably also adds to maybe saving quite a few jobs now, Ed, and along with that, it probably takes the pressure off some of the downward pressure on properties, maybe.
Yeah, well, let's just talk about interest rates at the moment, because we did have a 75 basis point cut in the OCR. It went down from 1% down to 0.25%. So we've already seen Westpac and ASB cut their floating rates, and no doubt the other major banks, if they haven't already done so, will follow as well. So that's going to be a benefit for property owners. But hey, hidden within that OCR cut, if you look beyond the headlines as well, what else was there? Both the Deputy Reserve Bank Governor and the Governor, Adrian Orr, have both said to banks, we expect you to lend to businesses. We expect you to lend. They have also delayed the new capital requirement rules that were going to be introduced to make it easier for banks to lend. Of course, the banks have very strong balance sheets at the moment and are in a position to lend. And so while I've seen some people worried that prospective property owners or prospective property buyers won't be able to get lending, I don't see that, because the messaging we see coming out from the Reserve Bank is saying to the banks it's a good time to lend. And of course, if you look at property purchases as well, I'm seeing it become a much more attractive asset. Of course, the cut in the OCR and decreases in interest rates are going to hurt term deposit holders. So people who have their money invested in the bank. Now, as those interest rates come down, they're going to be considering, well, if my interest rate is just inflation, I'm staying at the same place in real terms. So where can I get a better return? Now, the share market and the bond markets are in flux, and so property is becoming more attractive, because a decrease of 0.5% on an interest-only mortgage is in effect an increase of 2% on yield if using a net yield, if using a 20% deposit. So property is becoming more attractive as a yield investment, certainly relative to those term deposits. So I'm seeing this as quite positive for the market.
Do you think that we're going to have how contained do you think job losses will be, Ed?
I think they're primarily going to be concentrated in the regions of New Zealand. And the reason I say that is, in front of me, I've got a table with all of the tourism spending as a proportion of GDP across the country. So Otago, 18.1% of Otago's economy or GDP is made up from tourism spending. They're going to be the hardest hit. That's followed by the West Coast, 16.4%. And then we've got a massive drop down to Canterbury at 4.8%. So those regions there, Otago and West Coast, are going to be the ones that are primarily going to be hit.
Ed, do you think we're going to get? Do you think we'll see a bit of domestic tourism once people are feeling safe to actually venture out?
Well, look, Hamish, I certainly hope so. Every year we have 4 million people come to New Zealand from overseas on a holiday. And at the same time, we have 3.2 million trips from New Zealanders going overseas every year. So if those 3.2 million trips from New Zealanders going overseas aren't happening, I really am hoping that New Zealanders are going to opt for a staycation and are going to support their local tourism
I
economy,
think it's also
specifically around Otago and the West Coast.
big opportunity for online businesses, right? I guess.
Well, I think all businesses are moving online, and obviously you'll be, I hope, quite happy with your decision to move to that online business. Obviously, mortgages online is probably quite a good name, business name at the moment, Hamish.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for sharing your thoughts, Ed. Hopefully that's been insightful for some of our viewers. Yeah, and have a good day.
No worries. Thanks, Hamish.